Hey guys, we're here for our next talk. We have Zaki, Julian, and Stanny who will be discussing the theoretical use of flash loans and attacks with interoperability. And I'll let them take it from here.
Hey guys. Hello.
Hello.
I'm okay. Let me do the MC for this quick panel. So my name is Julian Butelu. I'm the CEO of Stake Capital. We've been doing staking as a service, liquidity provider, market makers, and recently being involved in arbitrage, a few different arbitrage loan and a few different things like that. But and then we have Zaki from Iqlusion and also Stani from Aave. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Zaki.
Yeah, I'm Zaki from Iqlusion. I've done a bunch of work on Cosmos, a bunch of other protocols. Happy to be here. Flash loans seem to be a hot topic right now.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, Julian.
Yeah, go ahead, Stani. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm Stani. So I'm from Aave. Aave is a money market protocol, and with flash loans. And currently, we have roughly a market size of 50 million USD worth. And I think flashable liquidity there is somewhere in between 30 million USD value locked. So for those who are looking to do some flash loans. Happy to be here and discuss with two more theoretical guys here.
Cool. Before we jump into interoperability, meaning multiple chain, I think it's probably a good idea that we highlight a few different use cases about flash loan in why flash loan became popular over the past few months. And maybe Stani, you can probably talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, because that's an amazing question. Because flash loan itself isn't like a new thing. Like the theory has been living in Ethereum space for a couple of years now, and well, maybe not that long, but still. Interesting part is kind of like there has been use cases, but I think like actually using flash loans in a way where composability is very intact, that's something that came pretty recently. And it's also because kind of like the DeFi players out there, they have embraced the not just the flash loans, but the composability. And some of the developers in the space basically noticed that actually you can do this transactions with huge magnitude of capital without actually having that in possession. And kind of like that composability and what you can do in the space brought like flash loans more public, and then the kind of like attacks led to more publicity, which Julian probably explains more. But I think like the actual composability was the key thing, that when you realize that you can build something on, for example, on take a flash loan on Aave, basically close your CDP and open a new loan, for example, in Compound, and basically trade that currency in Kyber Uniswap and return the flash loan, and all this kind of like composability just embraced what you can actually do. And I think that's the culture of it brought it a lot into attention.
Yeah, I think maybe for people that not they don't understand flash loan, or they've heard about flash loan. I mean, flash loan are very interesting mechanism on blockchain, especially in Ethereum right now. It's because you can basically borrow a limited amount of liquidity as long as you reimburse that liquidity in the same block. So, for example, if you have a pool of liquidity on Aave, or a pool of liquidity on Fulcrum or other lending protocol, you can basically take that money from the pool and then do your own stuff. So basically, like swap some tokens on Uniswap, or basically take the money from the flash loan, close your CDP, and then when you close your CDP, get the money, sell the money on the market, and then reimburse your flash loan, and then you just pay a little bit of fees. So that's why it's very important, because I think in a traditional finance, basically traditional finance, I can actually see flash loan there. They're basically called whales. People that have access to a limited amount of liquidity and they can do whatever they want. So maybe a question is, should we add flash loan inside the protocol level, meaning that not out like infinite, making like the token infinite inflation on the token, so you could basically have an underlying mechanism of flash loan. What do you think, Zaki?
So I guess, so, a big part of what I do is sort of the design of multi-chain protocols. So I've been working on, public blockchain scalability for, something like 5 years. And, while flash loans are like, so what is functionally like a flash loan has always existed in traditional finance, whether it's, you've always been able to take out if you are sort of connected to the banking infrastructure in the right way, you could take out a loan for minutes, hours, overnight. The overnight money market lending rate has always been like a huge part of just like how the economy actually functions. Companies routinely borrow money to make payroll, et cetera. And it's just a huge part of the normal economy. So like this coming to blockchains has always been inevitable. I think like one of the things that is going to be, the existence of flash loans on Ethereum is sort of an unintended consequence of the way Ethereum works. So you don't explicitly design to have flash loans on Ethereum just because every transaction holds a global lock on the state. In Ethereum, flash loans like sort of naturally fall out as a property, of the atomicity properties. In any sort of multi-chain world, flash loans are going to have to be, or just sort of locks in general will have to be designed into the system. And then when you compose the notion of multi-chain atomicity with finance, you will get like in protocol flash loans. And so
Zaki, so it's really,
that will happen.
So you're basically saying that this decentralization or this ecosystem will move to a multi-chains, whether it's shared chain, IBC, or rollups on the top of Ethereum. So the question is really like, we'll be moving to multi-chain, and then you're saying that flash loan will be a feature of all this interoperability. So you're saying that flash loan is as one of the main pillar of this interoperability across multiple different chains, right?
So what I would say is when we design multiple chains, we take away this atomicity property because that's how we get, sovereignty, scalability, all of these things. We reduce the amount, we reduce atomicity. But you can add atomicity back in, as we've always done, in any sort of distributed system. The way you add atomicity in is you add a mutex. And basically what you're going to have, what a flash loan is a financial mutex. And so I expect that just like in any distributed computing protocol, we have some notion of distributed mutexes. You will see the same thing emerge in multi-chain finance.
And so if you got like the ability to do flash loan across all those different many different chains with different mechanism and different architecture, do you see like any new type of attacks across those different mutex, as you call them?
Why don't you talk about this? Because you've been working on stuff like staking DAOs and multi-chain governance, connecting Ethereum to Cosmos, and those are all really super interesting ideas, Julian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on like staking derivatives, and obviously, if you're able to stake, for example, in Ethereum or Cosmos or Tezos or Polkadot, when you need to stake the underlying asset, but then if you build staking derivative, then you could basically borrow, you can make a flash loan and then acquire liquidity. And then my question is, are those new type of flash loan a security risk for the interoperability world that we're building?
What do you think?
I mean, I don't know, Stanley, what do you think? I mean, I'm all into attacks, so I really want to investigate and see if it's possible. I think I really like it, but
yeah, I think derivatives is something that like we can't like stop, because like people can always like make contract for differences and bet on the underlying. So I think like in terms of security, it's kind of like it always resembles of creating like a secondary market where the value will basically mimic the primary market, whether it's staking or whatever is the locking mechanism, and then it prices in the secondary market. And I think there might be something involved there, but I'm more worried about the fact where you can actually like mint a token and represent like a value infinite amount. So like, you know, where you, instead of like taking money from, let's say, a reserve, like for example like Aave, and doing the flash loan and doing like the crazy circuit and like trading in Uniswap and closing some long position, instead you basically mint that token from air. Like that's like something like I'm scared, because in one way you are kind of asking a central bank to print your like certain amount of magnitude of money, and going to the let's say Wall Street and doing all kinds of bunch of transactions and just living like it's basically because like the markets are functioning in a way that there's some limited scarce amount of money and basically different values trading. And when someone comes to the market with unlimited like supply, and you can basically do things that people haven't seen before because money is scarce. And even if you like borrow from a millionaire, like you can actually borrow from a billionaire, or like even higher, because if you print that money. So that's like I'm very scared of like how that will play out. And also like in terms of interoperability, like I don't know how it will work like in terms of the atomicity, but I think you guys discussed in the green room about it, like how flash loans could be like basically if there is atomicity between two chains.
I think Zaki has been working on, or maybe like imagining, like working some like atomicity, about that subject. So maybe you can talk about it.
Yeah. So what you imagine? Okay. So like I can just like quickly sketch out like a hypothetical flash loan protocol that's just sort of been like floating in my head for the last couple of years, which is basically what you say is lend or mint these tokens to some sort of interchain endpoint. So like, you know, invoke this contract on another shard or something like that, but say, you know, lend these tokens. Now, what you say when you lend those tokens is also that that there's some lock that you're going to take out. So first, you're going to go to the other chain and you're going to get a transaction lock. Then you're going to say, okay, so basically halt state on this chain until I come back and give you until I give. So I'm going to buy, you know, a lock on global state in this chain. I'm going to go to this other chain, mint some tokens, give the other chain control of the lock, and then say, I will unlock you within X blocks. Take your tokens to the other chain, do whatever you want with them, and then you have to return them before that lock is released. Otherwise, there'll be sort of an atomicity break. Now, that would be like you could build a protocol like that would be able to do sort of cross shard or cross chain flash loans relatively easily, and that's sort of how I imagine this working. And basically this will have roughly the same properties as flash loans on Ethereum. It's just sort of more explicit about this notion that you're taking out a mutex.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, based on my experience of using flash loan quite like relatively very often, I would say that flash loans are not economically speaking viable in the daily trading or arbitrage opportunities, except just for liquidation. So meaning if the market is collapsing, then you need to capture some liquidation. You can basically get the flash loan, get your liquidation opportunity, and then reimburse the flash loan plus paying some fees. So if you're talking, Zaki, and then if you have this lock period, minimum amount of time where you can basically lock those assets, I feel like it will be very expensive for someone to do so. Like locking those assets into another chain, waiting for few blocks or few days, then the amount of fees that you're going to pay is probably going to be higher than the arbitrage opportunity that you can capture, or the thing that you want to do with your flash loan. What do you think? Have you thought about the economic mechanism of looking this up?
So every Ethereum transaction, your transaction fees pay for a mutex. And it's a mutex that lasts, like essentially one block height. So you kind of think, okay, like, well, how much would that mutex cost me? And this is where I think, the protocol designers can optimize these things. If you have some set of DeFi use cases, you can in your smart contract, in your multi-chain protocol, start designing and optimizing for those use cases and for minimizing the cost. Like, what is the least costly mutex you have to take out on a chain in order to enable a flash loan? And I suspect that you would be able to get down to the cost of these mutexes being something on the same order as like an Ethereum transaction fee right now.
Okay, interesting. Do you want to add something, Stanley?
I think like in theoretical point that makes total sense, and like I think like when it comes to the economics, like I've been following, it's kind of like where, like, on one hand you kind of, even though the funds are there, like to get more funds you need to have like liquidity providers, and then you have like different kinds of things you could do. You have the arbitrage, and then like you need very the spread can be like very small. Well, you need no more with the arbitrage down and so forth. And then there might be something like liquidation where there's like a lot of spread. Like, for example, if you liquidate with DeFi Saver and they are using actually flash loans, there's like a lot of capacity because of the liquidation discounts. So it like the economics, like designing whole like flash loan functionality is a lot of like economic game in terms of like whether it's worth it or not, and how many blocks you can lock. I don't know. It's pretty much like cost calculation, but I mean that's like one of the things I see with flash loans that also let's think about like arbitrage. Like, I mean, if everyone is doing the same thing, how many opportunities there eventually will be, right? Or how do you see, like, Julian, like, let's say now usually arbitrage you have to have the liquidity, right, to perform this task, and now that everyone is basically are in the same line with the same liquidity, like how, like basically how it should get more difficult to capture yields, right? It's basically a gas war at the end of the day, something like that.
Well, yeah, arbitrage. If the market stabilizes and people are capturing arbitrage opportunity across the entire, I mean, if we're talking about Ethereum, at some point those arbitrage will be very, very low. But that's what you want for if the chain can scale. That's what you would like to happen, is like minimum arbitrage opportunities, and then that will mean that the network is very stable. Maybe my next question that I'm thinking is like, would it be possible, and maybe that's for you, Zaki, would it be possible if you're thinking about like top 3, top 4 different chain, like Ethereum, Cosmos, Tezos, and Polkadot? For example, like on Cosmos, you could have an IBC, you could have a hub. On Polkadot, you could have a parachain, and then on Beacon chain, on Ethereum, whatsoever. Would it be possible to basically like circulate a flash loan for the same amount of liquidity across all different chains?
I believe, yeah. So is it possible? I think that so what I think is going to be, like I said, what has allowed for so much flash loan sort of innovation right now on Ethereum is basically you don't have to intentionally put flash loans in your protocols. In any sort of multi-chain world, you'll have to intentionally put flash loans in the protocol. Like designers of state machines, smart contracts, et cetera, will have to add flash loan functionality sort of on purpose. And I think that'll be, so it'll be interesting to see how much of that there is. Because you won't get this sort of permissionless innovation in the multi-chain of flash loans. People will have to say there is demand and use case and desire for this, and then people will have to build protocols that support it. And I think that's going to be. I think it's interesting. I think it's sort of good that Ethereum is sort of right now sort of starting to suss out what the actual demand is for this. And you'll probably see some early experiments with multi-chain protocols that support it, and then we'll find out whether or not it makes sense to sort of why do we support this. But if this notion of holding a mutex, like once you build mutexes into your protocol, you can aggregate, you can hold you can have one chain hold mutexes for multiple sources of liquidity and aggregate them together to be a sort of giant flash loan.
Interesting. So potentially you could basically land some asset on Aave protocol and borrow them on Cosmos Hub.
So let's say you have multiple money market money markets that exist on top of Cosmos, but they all support this notion of mutexes. If you have that, then you could potentially aggregate liquidity across multiple money markets into a single execution that you wanted to, for instance, bring to a decentralized exchange or something like that.
So if I then correlate what you're saying to what we had over the past few, a couple months ago on those different attacks where you could basically make a flash loan, borrow liquidity, and then collateralize this liquidity to get another token, for example, right BTC, then dump the right BTC on Uniswap pool to, if you had made a short position, and then trigger the short and then capture liquidity, sell it back to the market, and then make the profit. How would you actually see those oracles in a sense of having flash loan interoperability flash loan mechanism? How would you use those oracle?
So we have we have various kinds of, there's very the same sorts of design thinking that says, okay, we've seen some work from, let's say, the MicroTick team about having various kinds of markets that emit oracle packets over IBC. So for instance, you could grab a mutex for, let's say, 3 or 4 blocks, go do your transaction on, let's say, the MicroTick zone with the liquidity you borrowed. It will change, get an IBC packet, take that IBC packet back to somewhere else, trigger some computation, and then return the funds before your lock is released.
Okay, interesting. Do you want to add something, Stani?
No, actually, I wanted to add that I would definitely like to see like that happen, that we actually have cross chain flash loan, because one of the coolest thing I saw in this DeFi hackathon in San Francisco was this kind of a multi-DAO where you created a CDP with collaterals in different chains, and eventually in Cosmos you minted the stable coin. So like that was pretty cool. And I was thinking like something like flash loans where you have the atomicity between chains, like that would be like a holy grail of actually empowering liquidity. Yeah, I mean, the attacks part, I will definitely do research, because like that just like some chains you could actually like attack probably, because like you're bringing so much mass of liquidity. But,
there are a variety of different Cosmos hackathons sort of running right now. We have Game of Zones. It's probably too aggressive to like try and get a distributed mutex protocol running for Game of Zones. I don't think it would be pretty tough to pull off. But there's like the IBC hackathon that's going on right now on Gitcoin. Lots of opportunities. I definitely think that like probably the biggest like RFP out there right now is somebody to write a distributed mutex protocol over IBC.
Julian,
So this is like,
you want to try to do something where?
well, I'm participating in Game of Zones on the Cosmos. This is happening right now. So we are building we are building stuff. Okay, so flash loan will probably be a good use case for you, Zaki.
I would love to see someone design a flash loan protocol over IBC. It's definitely doable.
So do you think like IBC will be the first flash loan, or the first place where people can build flash loan and then interact with Ethereum chain, compared to Parachain on Polkadot or whatsoever? Do you think like IBC is going live, right? So then IBC will probably be the place for doing flash loan and all those different DeFi between Ethereum and the Cosmos hub.
So I think there's two pieces. One is actually implementing the system, but I think the protocol for doing flash loans across optimistic rollups, across IBC, across parachains, across shards, end up being basically the same protocol. And I haven't really fully thought through that protocol, but like once you have one, it'll look the same, and there'll just be different implementations of that protocol. But yeah, if you're really bullish on flash loans, and anybody who's watching is really bullish on flash loans, like coming up with a distributed, like a mutex protocol.
So you're saying that flash loan will have its own network or its own protocol?
Well, you're going to need this distributed mutex protocol, and that's basically what somebody hasn't built yet. And whether you want to do scalable flash loans on Ethereum, scalable flash loans on Cosmos, scalable flash loans on Polkadot, and scalable flash loans on Near, whatever, you end up needing the same protocol, which is stop the world somewhere. Like, I promise that, like, I will stop the world, do something, get some liquidity, run the world for however many ticks, and then give you back that liquidity. And because that is essentially what a flash loan is.
Yeah, exactly. And then here we're talking about like 100 or 120 billion market cap. So it's probably very interesting for Aave, right, Sunny?
Yeah, definitely. And let's see, and then maybe for arbitrage DAO as well.
Oh, that's what I've been looking into for quite a while now. It's arbitrage on interoperability. For me, it's a fantastic. It's fantastic because obviously it's many different opportunities. Cool. Do you guys want to add anything on the maybe if we have any questions there?
All right, guys. I think we have to close out this particular panel. Thank you so much for all the information. It was great.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you guys. Thank you for organizing it, Aizen.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Aizen.